Well. It looks like I have two cameras going on right there. My apologies. Let me turn that other one off. It's hideous. He's fucking hideous. Anyways, good morning to everyone out there in cryptocurrency land. Bitcoin having the biggest move that we've seen in what feels like about a week or 10 days, which feels like really an eternity in cryptocurrency land for sure. Really just in any trading line at this point. Anyways, it's good to see a lot of familiar faces in here. Nimbo says, sup, Sims and vegans. Yes, we need some more vegans, as you spelt it there. Mr. Caretaker's in here as well. Good morning to you as well, sir. Group has been found. Matthew Smead, the group has been found. We are all groups. In fact, if you remember from way back when, the Elon Musk and group gate, if you want to call it that. And even El Satoshi's here as well. Cheap Vlog, good morning to you. Our good neighbor from Estonia. Jerome Powell buys Bitcoin and retires. Wait, hold on. I actually, for some reason, cannot see these comments properly. Let me readjust. Okay, yes, there we go. All right, looks like that's been fixed now. Lurkin Luke Soto says, Krown, forget about your Lord of the Rings scam. You got your Fry Festival 2 tickets yet? Definitely not a scam. 2,000 peoples at a place that only holds 200. Be there or be square. Well, it looks like my ticket got lost in the mail because I don't think I'm going to that one. I'm still reeling. Elsa's still reeling from getting scammed on Sunday. That was crazy, man. Elsa's like really mad about it. She was really mad about it. She actually wanted to leave in the middle of it. I'm just a Lord of the Rings nerd, so I will like anything that has to do with that, even if it is 100% shitty, like Rings of Power, to be honest. But yeah, it was pretty hilarious in hindsight. Very disrespectful. And Bear Nutrition, the man of the hour as well. Good morning to you, sir. Good morning to you indeed. Anyways, yes, a lot of people meeting Caretaker for the first time. It is an honor. It is an honor indeed. Yes, you're speaking with perhaps one of the best coders on all of TradingView at this point. I think he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves. But he's way too way too humble himself to ever to ever speak about his own work highly. But I will do it for him because I truly do believe that characters and indicators, they're just on a different fucking level, man. They really are. And then of course, he has indicators that are also, I guess a little bit more geared towards simplicity, although certainly the coding behind it is not simple. I can assure you of that because I've seen the fucking code, and while I can't read it, it's thousands of lines, which it's fucking a lot, man. It's a lot. I can tell you that. Anyways, it looks like I done goofed over here, so let me just readjust my screens. Okay, there we go. Actually switched a few things around here. We got the old switcheroo going on. Is Fartcoin going higher before correction, please, Mr. Krown? It's very interesting, man. I actually looked at Fartcoin myself this morning, just because I've had it on my list because I've identified it as one of the. I mean, again, I'm not saying fundamentally it's great or anything like that, but as far as charts go, it's been probably one of the best altcoin charts for a while consistently, especially since, March. This one's been just fucking straight up, man. It's actually insane. You really wouldn't have expected something like this to be looking like this, but it is. And once again, it looks to me like it wants to try another breakout here. Does this one go higher? I think the general market is going higher here. I'm not calling new all-time highs or anything like this. Again, for reference, here's the real chart. This is a regular chart, but I do think that it can certainly go higher. And I think, like I said, most things will be going higher in the short to / medium term here. But I still have major reservations with this market in general continuing to new highs. Even if Bitcoin did make new highs, I think it's likely capped around $120,000 and then cycle over. That's just my personal take. Of course, I'm very much open to being wrong about this, but yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Nothing's really changed there. But short term, yes, is very much favoring the upside. And if this thing does want to take another leg to the upside, I'd be looking somewhere around 1.25-ish. 1.25 is a nice number there. We can also draw an inverted fib. I'm just generally curious where this one's coming in around. And sorry, actually, I'd have to adjust that 1.25 area of interest to the upside to about 117. And I do think that that's very, very likely to get hit here. Even $1.50, is, I mean, wouldn't be out of the ordinary. We'll see how crazy things get on the other end, though, because there are several indications right now that do suggest we're going to see a general market-wide rally, probably for the next, I don't know, at least until the end of this month. So we got another 7-8 days now, and yeah, we got 8 days. There's 30 days left in, there are 8 days left in April because there's only 30 days in April. Yeah, everything except Ethereum. Yeah, Ethereum is now getting the the old cycle shitcoin treatment. I wonder, I mean, if it truly does not make new all-time highs this cycle, then I guess I would have to also, I'd have to say that, well, I look at this one as also a prior cycle shitcoin at that point. You know, just because something was good in the past doesn't mean it's going to be good in the future. And that applies to everything, of course, even Bitcoin, you know. But at least Bitcoin proved itself this cycle again, you know, getting a new all-time high. I can't say the same thing about Ethereum here, but yeah, man, Ethereum, it's like, look, it's very likely to bounce here, but is it relatively weak compared to everything else? It seems like it to me. You know, I was looking at Solana versus Ethereum ratio, and you know, before, right on over here in January, I said, hey, this one's putting in a top. It did come down significantly, to be fair, but Jesus, man, just put another higher low, and we got bullish back on it right on over here. This was in early April on this big move, and this one looks like it wants to continue to new all-time highs as far as the ratio goes. That means that Ethereum is going to continue to lose versus Solana, and then if we look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin, I mean, this is the most flaccid, uninspiring chart that I've ever seen in my fucking life. Again, we're on regular scale here. Not that log makes much of a difference at all, but this thing has had several fucking chances. It's had every chance in the world to do something, and it just doesn't. But again, I'd have to play the game of, hey, you're very likely to get a pity bounce just by the sheer fact of this one getting back down around that last macro cycle low, which is actually, to be fair, a little bit lower than where it's at right now. But calling a reversal you know, instead of a bounce is a much different story, and that's certainly not what I'm doing here, especially with the way that the quarterly closed for March. I mean, closed on the lows. same areas it was 4 years ago now. I mean, this is just pathetic. You know, it truly is. But even if it does get a nice bounce here, you know, it's got a lot of work to do to reverse the actual trend. It can get a big bounce, you know, maybe back up to 3 million satoshis. But 3 million satoshis seemed pretty fucking low not so long ago. So I don't know if I don't know how much of a consolidation prize that is. But this thing, you know, the trend is your friend, and we got a high. We got a low, we got a lower high, we got a lower low, we have a same high, higher low, lower high. Then it's just been one drastic lower low the whole way through, man. Just fucking ugly, man. Very, very ugly. Probably a bit better seen on the monthly right here. Anyways, yes, okay. So 9.5 says, if Ethereum looks like this, how much will other altcoins be destroyed? I mean, honestly, I think Ethereum, as it stands right now, I'd have to put Ethereum into the general shitcoin jar, because it just has not. You can't make excuses for things when everything, you know, most of the things made new all-time highs. You know, even Solana made new all-time highs. So to me, it's like, is this some sort of a long-term, like very long-term signal that Ethereum is just losing its position within this market? I think so. I do think so. I mean, maybe it's all those fucking Vitalik dancing videos that have finally put the nail in the coffin. I don't know, man. Alchemist says Eric Trump wants you to buy at 2,700 and thank him. That's right. Thank me later. He says, maybe we just have to wait a little bit longer, right? You know, you'll be rewarded. I've heard that one before. Just hodlers will be rewarded. Stake your coins for 15 years. It's a good idea. Make sure that you can't touch them, because patience will be rewarded. And anyone who doubts this is stupid. I'm kidding, okay? Anyways, Krown, do you have a cold? Actually, I do, man. How can you tell? Or I don't know if I have a cold, but I'm just like, I had a really hard training session yesterday, and I have my voice left me after that training session. But I was hoping it would be a little bit back this morning. Pukas is ready, says Colin Townsend. This is something that I've never heard of in my life. Pukas. That's not a thing, is it? Wait, what is this thing? Yeah, that is okay, I'm just getting trolled here. Pukas, it's not even a thing. It's not even a real thing. Yeah, it's not even a real thing, or at least it's not on TradingView. So as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't fucking exist. Anyways, do you think alts could make new all-time high if Bitcoin tops 120? I think that 95% of alts will not. I think that the very, very strong ones, maybe that's Fcoin, to be fair. I mean, you know, these ones could potentially have a chance if Bitcoin were to make a new all-time high. But I think the overwhelming majority of them will not. They've just been beat up so fucking much, man. So look at something like this, Deep, which went on a fucking epic rally at the end of 2024 and early 2025, coming down here, what, like 86.5% on the lows. This thing can rally up from the lows a lot. So, I'm not saying that you can't make money with these things. Of course you can. This thing could rally up like 400%, and that would look like your traditional bull trap, if it even gets there. I mean, Jesus, like I would imagine it probably gets rejected much before that. And this is just one of many. Let's look at this one, which fundamentally actually does make a lot of sense to me. Stacks. This is like DeFi on Bitcoin. And this thing, again, it did make new all-time highs in 2024. Great. But when you have a move like this, it's just, it's like another 86.5% down from the highs. This thing can rally up a lot and still be another lower high. This thing could rally up like 250%. And that would be a beautiful lower high. But yeah, man, time shall tell. Time shall tell. Indeed, we'll obviously get into some Bitcoin analysis relatively soon here. I see that we're also live on Twitter as well, which is cool. I'm liking getting the Twitter community involved. We have Peepoo. He says, "Tell us what you're seeing, sire." Yeah, I mean, my view over the past week since last week's low? Maybe 2 weeks ago's low now. Yeah, 2 weeks ago lows. This one here, the early April low. Bitcoin very likely, and most things in this market, most markets in general, just likely to work their way higher, at least until the end of this month, maybe even a little bit into the beginning of May as well. And then that's where it'd kind of be a little bit more on guard. But, how high can things get before there? Well, we'll talk about that in the stream, of course. But, the general targets that we've been talking about are still apply, like mid 90s, somewhere around there, certainly feasible. And yeah, I mean, I guess we'll let the market speak for itself, of course. Market speaking for itself, however, looking at traditional markets, maybe not as good, but I do think that still it is very much premature to be calling any sort of decoupling. Like I just calling decoupling from for Bitcoin versus the stock market is the same as the flippening back in 2017 and then again in 2021 when people were talking about Ethereum flipping Bitcoin. It's just I don't think that we're seeing that just yet. It's way too early to judge these sort of things. They really need to be judged over long-term trends, which naturally just take a long time, right? Multiple months. And in this case, NASDAQ, SPY, they haven't made new lows. Yes, they've come back a little bit close to those lows, but I suspect that they're setting up for a bounce relatively soon as well. They've been beat up enough. I don't think that they're making new lows before they at least try a rally to the upside. Still the same ideas right there. Nothing new. But yeah, as far as, altcoins that could potentially make new all-time highs, if Bitcoin were to make new all-time highs, I'd have to say XRP is probably one of them just because, it is holding up compared to other things, certainly much better. That's for sure. This one did come down about 52.5%. That's quite a bit different than 85.5%. And more importantly, it's still maintaining, a very, very higher term time frame uptrend. Although, it just doesn't look like the picture of health and fitness to me. But if Bitcoin goes up, then I suspect that other things will go up with it. And this would be probably in one of the better positions, to be fair. I mean, certainly a better position than fucking Ethereum. Like, Jesus, man, just fucking mean. Or even Solana at this point as well. I do think that Solana could easily rally. Okay, I don't know about easily, but rally up to like $200. That'd be another great place for yet another rejection. So yeah, man, I do think, this next segment of the market, I feel like I've been saying this for a while, but the next segment of this market is going to be difficult because I know myself that if I see Bitcoin in the mid 90s or even around $100,000, I'm going to start to get bullish again. I'm going to think, oh, Jesus, the market's not over. This thing's going to, 150,000, 200,000, no, 1 million, whatever it is. And then capitulate on my views. But despite knowing that in advance, I will still probably do it. But yeah, Brand Power says, what did I miss? Not much yet. Not much yet. We'll get into some Bitcoin analysis soon here. I just want to give a little bit more time for people to join in. I see that we got a nice healthy amount of people on a tired Tuesday morning here on, of course, YouTube and then also Twitter as well. Twitter, we actually have a few people. Austin Rogers, good morning to you, man. Pluto Verse and Ruth Capital. Ruth Capital says, MicroStrategy IBIT surprisingly strong. Let's see. Actually, I haven't really been looking, or I know that MicroStrategy has certainly been strong, but I haven't really looked at IBIT. Let's see. Where is my IBIT? I know I have it here somewhere. Is it where did I put it? Hey, this is where I swear it's just here. Where the fuck is it? I'm probably looking it right in the face and I can't even recognize it because I'm actually redacting myself. Okay, has it left my charts? I swear. I swear I have it there somewhere. Maybe I accidentally deleted it like a fucking moron. We say what? Gay and retarded. I did have it somewhere, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, IBIT's kind of playing with Bitcoin, right? So yeah, it is looking a little bit relatively strong, but I think MicroStrategy is just a different beast right now, or at least last I checked. Okay, maybe not so much of a different beast, but what did really stand out to me about MicroStrategy is that it didn't make new lows with the rest of the market in the early April dump. This one put in essentially the same low, still hanging out above the 200 simple, still hanging out above all major moving averages. So this is relatively strong. I'd certainly say that, and I do think that this one's going to move up 350 at least, maybe even back above $400. Overall, this chart is still good. In fact, I mean, the monthly didn't even break the 5 EMA for the last couple months. So, looking at this one, man, I do think that MicroStrategy has a chance here. The problem is that MicroStrategy has gotten so sophisticated and complicated. I don't know about sophisticated, but complicated with its debt structure and everything that I don't understand it anymore. And if I don't understand something, then I just kind of avoid it, to be honest. Doesn't mean that, it's going to be like an issue or anything like that. It's just, for me, I know my limitations, and I know that if I don't understand something, then I probably have no business, investing in it. So something like this is something that I just watch. I don't invest in it. However, as far as like long-term investments, I mean, I've made this pretty, I guess, open, I suppose, as far as my, long-term traditional market investments. I have no problem disclosing those. It's not public, but of course, I don't really mind. They're very long-term things, what I'm trying to say. And yeah, I think the same thing over there. What I've really liked recently investing in is, again, for the long term, I'm not talking about short term bullshit, this sort of stuff, but for the long term, I really, really, really like investing in defense stocks, defense ETFs, defense technology. These sort of things make a lot of sense to me, mostly because, you always have a fucking forced buyer, right? Countries are naturally incentivized to spend as much as possible and necessary for protecting their own interests, which comes down to military technology. That is the biggest deterrent. And that's why, up until at least as of this moment, which may very well change soon, the U.S. is still the pole position, but it's getting pretty damn close now, man. It's getting pretty damn close. But yeah. Anyways, Lee says Ethereum has been spanked. It's over. I mean, it's been spanked for a while now, I suppose. I could understand being an Ethereum cheerleader, back up until where was it that I was still kind of having a little bit more of an optimistic view on it. That was back here. Yeah, this was back here in February. But once it broke that 5 EMA and once it took out that, especially this last low from 2024, it's like, Jesus, man. I mean, you're probably going to get a bounce here as well with the rest of the market, but it's so much work to do now in order to look halfway fucking decent. It's just, there's going to be much better things that move to the upside much more. Even if this thing does get big bounce, even if this thing were to make new highs, for example, just as a thought experiment, I would really expect many other things to be significantly outpacing it. Anyways, I'm looking at, people talking about Lockheed. Actually, I guess I do own this one because I do own defense. No, this is not Lockheed. This is L3 Harris Technologies. I don't know what this is. What is this? We have to ask Grok. Let me get Grok. Is this something that I should be aware of or not? All right, let's ask. What is the Palantir? I really, really like. I've been looking for a position in that. I mean, I do own a little bit just through an ETF, but I want to own the company straight up itself. LHX. What does the LHX stock do? What does that stock do? All right, let's see what this one is. It's some sort of tech. All right. Yes, we know that already, but it is focused on command, control, communications, computer intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like some that I could potentially be interested in as well. I mean, basically any sort of technology is probably good. Anyways, I think we're just about ready to get into some actual Bitcoin analysis. I can't promise that there's a whole hell of a lot of new things, but Well, I guess a little bit here and there. So let me just make sure that I got all my notes properly set over here so that we can make this one nice and flowing. All right, let's see. Yeah, actually, we're going to start this one from perhaps this angle here, or actually, no, this angle right here. This one's going to make a little bit more sense, I suppose. And once I show the chart, you already know where I'm going with this one, but it does provide a really nice base for buys here. It's supporting everything else that we've been kind of looking at for the short to medium term. Anyways, okay, so I want to start with that. Yes, then we go to, okay, we don't need Twitter up there anymore. Let me get rid of that. All right, and we can put this over here for now too. Actually, let's check in on the quantum wave bands. I don't know if they took a new trade in the last day. Perhaps they did. I wonder if they scalped this this last rally. Let's see. Here's the hourly. Hourly is probably not going to get it, but maybe the 30-minute would be fast enough for something like this. Let's see. Nope. Yeah, hourly hasn't done any trades since this one last Wednesday. Nice little scalp right there, to be fair, but not much going on. Can't really blame it in this case. 30-minute time frame. Let's see what this one's done here, and it is going to be loading. But once we load, we shall know. We shall know what the hell's going on. Smash the likes, lobotomite, says Matthew Smead. He's my favorite pulsar. He's my favorite my only favorite pulsar. No, there are some really good people from the Pulse community. Okay, yeah, this one has not taken a trade in a while as well. It needs volatility to start trading it up, but yeah. All right, so we don't need to talk about that then. There's nothing new there, so I shall just get rid of those windows. We don't need them. We can move over here, and yes, okay, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, okay, cool. And areas of interest, yes, areas of interest for targeted areas of interest. Let's type that out just to make it a little bit more obvious for myself. Okay, all right. Oh, yeah. Okay, and I do want to bring up actually a couple new things here. Yeah, a couple new things that I think will be rather interesting. J.D. Vance is the angel of death. He tried to kill Greenland. He destroyed the National College Football Trophy, and he has just killed the Pope. This fucking guy. It does. And did you even say thank you once? You ungrateful fuck. Yeah, man. What do the Catholics think of Vance now? Just asking for a friend. I don't know, man. I don't want to get into that. Elsa, could you fill my water and be useful for one moment? Okay. I'm just kidding. Elsa's amazing. She's great, and I'm very much looking forward to this finished water. All right, cool. All right. Let's get this one started. I guess I'll record this one just in case we post it up later, but probably won't. Anyways. Over the past week, we've been looking for a general rally to the upside in the short/medium term to end out the month of April. Yes, this month, whatever month that we're in right now, I believe it is April. And in today's video, we're starting to see like more continuation, more confirming signals that Bitcoin and probably the rest of this market are going to get, a decent bounce, at least until that date. Again, end of April to perhaps even early May as well. For the first sort of point forming that bias, again, the 5-day time frame is rejecting the white 200 moving average here. It is on a lower high, and it also is seeing 5-day momentum come down as well for the first time in, well, quite some time, especially from a region like this. Last time we saw it was actually back on over here in September of 2024, and even now it's actually significantly higher. So that technically would be hidden bearish divergence within the context of this current trend. So if we do assume that Tether dominance or stablecoin dominance continues to play opposite of crypto dominance, or sorry, not crypto dominance, but just crypto price versus USDT, then this would be yet another signal that does suggest Bitcoin and company likely go up here. I do suspect that this one at minimum is going to come back down to about 5%. I do think personally it will even go a little bit lower than that. Will that be enough to get Bitcoin on a new high, or will it be a lower high? That's the real question. Kudos, Elsa. Elsa has actually brought me some fresh finished water here, which I'm really, really excited about. But I would just be cognizant of these potential areas for reversal along the way until until we see otherwise. But yeah, the areas of interest to the downside, we've already seen the first one, 5.25. I mean, this one was quite obvious, but I highly doubt that that's going to be a higher low here. Very likely a bounce, but not like the higher low that reverses it. The next one is that 5% level. I do think things at least get down around there. Could it potentially be that next higher low? Yeah, for sure. I mean, the 50% level is always one to watch. And then you got the 618 below that at 469. These would be the major areas to be looking for around a potential reversal. And of course, if they all fail, then I'm looking perhaps all the way back down to the lows that we saw from this year, which could actually propel Bitcoin to a new all-time high. Just because even if it did come down exactly to these levels here, that could, like I said, imply that Bitcoin does make a new all-time high. We did see that same sort of relationship from the December rally and in the January highs. Obviously, it tested in the exact same area right here. Didn't have any new lows or anything like this, but Bitcoin did make, decently new highs. So I do think it is possible for Bitcoin to put new highs, but I do want to repeat my own bias here, which is long-term, thinking, months down the road, okay, because the short term again is bullish, but months down the road, I do think that this market has pretty much seen the high. Whether it's very close in terms of price, is up for debate right now, or at least it's up for debate with myself, I guess. Maybe you have your own ideas as well. But similar to 2021, when Bitcoin put in this new all-time high right here after that first one a few months earlier, well, it wasn't a significantly new all-time high. And again, in hindsight, if you're thinking from the perspective of a very long-term investor, this was a fine place to be getting out on this first high right here, is effectively the high. So, does Bitcoin make a slightly lower high? Does it make a slightly higher high? That gives us a fucking massive range between, like, let's say $95,000 on the lower end to maybe like $120,000 on the higher end. I'm very much agnostic as to where things land within there. I'm looking for the next sort of signals that I'd be looking for are objective signals that would imply that this market has, seen yet another higher term time frame local high. So yeah, anyways, but before we get there, like I said, short term should be a rally, and we can move on to what confirms the next leg for Bitcoin. In fact, you're seeing it right here in front of your very eyes with the 5-day price action pivot that is currently at $88,500. We spoke about this on yesterday's video as well. If Bitcoin can even just close a daily above there, then that would imply Bitcoin has resolved this range and is going to take a leg up, I would imagine, at least to 93, maybe 95 or 96,000 bucks. But that's a decent move nonetheless. Also, that is essentially confluent with the white 200 simple moving average here, which is a little bit lower at 88,400. And then, of course, if we were to draw a Fibonacci retracement from the high to the low of this current move, then that would give us an area of interest again at the 382 level, just around 88,000 bucks. So we see multiple things coming in from multiple different angles around this region. In fact, even the HPDR over here on the 5-day time frame is showing the median right at that same number, or what would be the same number for CME. Anyways, that is to say, if you see Bitcoin start to close above there, I would say that the next leg is confirmed. You'll at very least see like above, like I said, like 92, 93, maybe even all the way up to 96. Perhaps a tradable event depending upon, your sort of, I guess, outlook. Anyways, from there, I do want to again go over some concerns here. So one of the secret charts that I think has been very useful in the past, which I should probably reference more for for signals, is the Bitcoin versus yen chart. And the Bitcoin versus yen chart looks much different than, of course, the Bitcoin versus dollar chart. And of course, that's due to the differences and the and the declining value of the dollar versus the yen. But it is pretty fucking obvious here that this thing is still in a pretty nasty downtrend. It's actually even nowhere near the same sort of relevant regions that Bitcoin versus the dollar is. Obviously, Bitcoin versus the dollar is very close to that 200 simple. This one is nowhere fucking near, and could theoretically rally all the way up there and still find nice rejections. So I would just keep this in the back of your mind. Of course, like I said, I do think that even this one goes higher as well. But we're seeing that sort of situation that you typically see in long-term downtrends, where you get these decent rallies, but during those rallies, it's your momentum oscillators that kind of show you that price is, spinning its wheels, but not really getting anywhere significant. Of course, to get somewhere significant, you need to flip that trend. You need to take out that last lower high and preferably put in a higher low along the way as well. And in this case, we don't see anything like that with the yen, and daily stochastic momentum is already deep inside, just balls deep inside, and the nuts hanging out of the critical zone right here. Very, 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 very concerning, because, this one is gonna, I think you're very likely to see a pullback well before that 200 simple moving averages hit. So yeah, I'd keep an eye on that. Anyways, we've spoken about areas of interest. We've spoken about what confirms an X leg. We spoke about timing in past videos, so I won't go over that one in this video as well. And we've also spoken about my concerns, which they might be significantly wrong. They also might be right. Who knows? But at the end of the day, we'll let price action tell us. And I think we can probably leave things there. Actually, I'll just do a quick little synopsis of a new strategy that I'm working on over here. This is based off of the price action pivots indicator. This is one that we are also offering for free, a 30-day trial with the code trial in all capitals. Similar to everything else, I'm really, really glad that we actually got this to work, because as far as like shilling products and shit, it's just the best when you can actually offer just a free trial and you make the decision for yourself. You'll be able to see if it's valuable to you or not. That's the way they like to do it. Transparent marketing. Anyways, in this case, I've set up a really, 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 really simple strategy here for the hourly, using the price action pivots indicator as a filtering mechanism, which is really how I think it needs to be used right now. There are future updates coming in the, I don't think so distant future, but of course, Bear Nutrition is actually the master of this one, and so only he shall know. But this is literally just trading a momentum-based strategy off of just a cross on the hourly stochastic momentum, as long as it correlates well. Or sorry, doesn't correlate well, but as long as the price action pivots indicator is giving the sort of uptrend bias. So this thing, again, over the past couple of years, these are not like crazy results. Like, don't get me wrong or anything like this, but they are decent results. Again, 66 almost % profitable trades right there. And of course, when we go into the actual trade analysis, I believe it's right here. Yes, indeed. That would give us an average winning trade of 137 and an average losing trade of 150. And actually, I am using take profit and a stop loss by percentage here. This is super, 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 super fucking simple. Strategy. I mean, I think that there's probably significantly more ways to optimize this. I literally just started working on this over the past couple days, but yeah, like I said, if you want to work on it as well, you can try it out for free. You can also even try out the Quant Prime service for free as well, so you can actually automate or at least automate your back testing and also automate your trades if you do want to use something like this. But yeah, like I said, I'll let you be the judge of that, because you are the best judge for your personal situation. And I think that's it for this video. We can now get on with, of course, the nice little live stream that we got going on YouTube and Twitter right now as well. So I will shut things off right there. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Wednesday for some good old sparring as well. I'm really excited about that one. All right, let me jump back on over here to Twitter, and let's get back onto the YouTube comments as well. I think Elsa's already got a few lined up for me, so let's get to that first. Lev Ashen is first today. He says, JUP, short-term bounce targets and long-term projections, please. Yeah, I still actually have this one on my list. Okay. Again, we have another shitcoin here that did really well this cycle. It had a tremendous move from 45 cents all the way up to nearly $2. I mean, impressive for sure. But looking at it here, it can have a big bounce. You've already hit your first like easy target, if you will. If it does want to take another leg up, I'd be looking somewhere around 50 cents. But I do think it's going to have a pretty big issue getting above there. If I'm wrong on that, and you do see it above 50 cents, and it really starts to reclaim that region, it could be a scenario where you're getting like a really, really aggressive and volatile rally. I would imagine Bitcoin would have to be making new all-time highs at this point, or at least retesting all-time highs, and then maybe the daily will test something like the 200 simple. But these would be perfect areas to sell if you got them. And I mean, that's significantly higher than where it's at right now. Current price is 40 cents. The 200 simple as of now is about 85 cents, so more than a 2x from where it's at this moment. Not impossible, like I said, but you're getting that same sort of situation here as we identified earlier with the yen chart, which is you're still on lower highs by a fucking country mile, and your momentum oscillators are getting all the way up into critical territory. It just doesn't leave so much room for constructive behavior, or at least if it is going to have a decent move to the upside, it's probably going to take some prolonged consolidations along the way. But yeah, as far as the short term, like I said, upside is more likely. It's better to be betting on upside just in general for most things in this market. This thing is certainly on the weaker side. So long term, I do think that your trend is very much your friend here to the downside. But yeah, if things get really crazy, like I said, somewhere around 80 cents perhaps. But that would be a gift from God to sell. And there are plenty of areas of interest along the way. In fact, let's also look at an inverted fib here. I'm just curious what this one would look like. Let's take it from this high here. Actually, this would be the more relevant one. Yeah, you actually got the 50% level at about 80 cents and the 382 at 67.5. So 67.5 would be the next like major area of interest along the way. And then, of course, you got this local and lower high here at about 60 cents or so. So all of these numbers likely have some significance along the way to the upside, assuming that it actually gets around there. But like I said, I'd be very much on guard for something like this, having a very quick move to the upside, like your traditional sort of altcoin immediate rally, something like this, and then just immediately fucking spilling it out as well. These sort of things are very much not unheard of. So yeah, that's what I'd be looking for on something like this. Again, this can take a while to play out. But yeah, Steven Schickman says, GM, doggy, daily, weekly, please. I'm surprised that you're not first today, sir. Are you slacking? What's going on here, man? If it doesn't feel right. Doggy coin here. Same shit, man. Same shit, basically. Short term, does it rally more? Yeah, I think it could easily get up to like 18.25 cents. I don't think that's asking for too much. If things get really crazy, a rally somewhere around the white 200 simple here. That's again a quarter or a little bit above a quarter right now, 26 cents almost. But yeah, it's very difficult to call any sort of reversal on something like this. But look, you're trying to bounce off of the 200 simple moving average here on a weekly time frame. You're seeing weekly momentum turn up as well. Like, very likely the bounce has more to go to the upside. You're going to have stops along the way, of course, but short term should be to the upside. I think at least it'll get to 20 cents. I think 25 cents is also in the realm of possibility as well. Anything more than that, I mean, at least this thing does have macro higher lows, to be fair. So it is better than probably 99% of other shitcoins out there, to be fair. But yeah, I would treat it the same way as Ethereum. As long as the monthly stochastic also is to the downside, I would still look at this one as in like a macro corrective phase, if you will. So yeah, man, that's really all that I got to say about that one. Krister Forland from North Korea, or no, that's Norway. Bag held. This one's forming a bullish rug pull. A bullish rug pull. What is this? This is a new one. Bullish rug pull. I don't think it is on TradingView, sir. Unfortunately, we can't look at it, but I'm so curious about it because of its name that I will actually go for once onto Dexderps, and we can look at it there, assuming that it is there. And if it's not there, then well, you got bigger problems, sir. Because if it ain't on here, then it's truly so irrelevant that it doesn't deserve to be even on the most shitty of charting tools. Anyways, bag held. It's actually not even here. Holy shit. Am I spelling this wrong? No, I'm not. What's going on here? Am I being trolled? Am I being trolled? I'll give you the Bert stare, you bastard. Don't troll me. Don't troll me, bro. Ram Power says, can you analysize syrup? Syrup? Okay. Well, it is a thing, and it is on TradingView, so can't be, well, I shouldn't say it can't be that bad. You don't want to tempt fate like that. But, well, the good news is it doesn't have enough history to really look that bad. And it actually is having, pound for pound, a pretty good bounce here compared to, again, most things. Yeah, I'd actually have to say that this one, I mean, relative to other things, it's in a better position. I do think you are going to spend some time going sideways and consolidate here between the high of a few days ago and maybe this low here, something like this. Does it come all the way back down to this low? I don't know, but when I see something like this on the daily stochastic, I'm more inclined to say that you're going to enter into a bit of a consolidation phase. But as long as you're above, again, about 13.25 cents, that is going to be a higher low, and that does set it up for continuation higher. And like I said, I do think that most of this market has, is going to make some, is going to make some upside waves before anything else. So, this thing, if it does break out above that Saturday high, again at 17.40 cents, something like that, then I'd be looking for actually this one to move back on effectively to the prior all-time highs, about 24 to 25 cents or so. So yeah, this one actually could be decent here. How big of a rally was this off the low? I'm just curious. It doesn't look like much on this chart, but that's literally a 100% fucking move. Holy shit. Well, fair enough. I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse. I mean, there's certainly a lot more worse things than this thing in this market. So yeah, at least there's that. Anyways, S.S says PP realistic fib ranges on interest of interest, I think is what you mean. Okay, yeah, I'll put it over here. PP action. Okay, it depends what time frame you're going off of. Obviously that one was relevant for a while ago, so it's not going to be super relevant, I suppose, in your case. It depends which high you want to go off of, like how long term are you. I do generally agree with this one right here, the 382 level being an area of interest. I don't know what the hell that number is because it's too many damn decimal places to the right, but this would be a great area for, another rejection. Of course, you got the 50% level, and I think best case scenario, maybe it retests this high here, which is a 618. But those would be the areas of interest as far as I can see. Long term, to be fair, for shitcoin, it does have a much better chart than, again, 99% of shitcoins out there. It makes new highs and higher lows from cycle to cycle, so that always deserves to be respected. And next phase, I do think still is a bounce here. I think at minimum you'll get up to that 382, by the way, which again, well, actually, I don't even want to repeat the number because I don't know how to say this one. It's like fucking 4 or 5 decimal places to the right. It's too much, man. It's too much. Okay, it's this right here, whatever the fuck that is right there. Is probably what I'd be looking for at minimum. Does it make that move exactly from where it's at right now? That I don't feel so confident on. Again, same reason due to this, but if it pulls back here, puts in another higher low, then yeah, that would look fine to me. But if you want it depends what time frame you're on. If you want more realistic or more short term, if that's what you mean by that, then I would draw the fib like this from that high to this low. And you've already hit the 382. You did put in a low there. So there is that. We do have good confluence, which tells me that this is a good one to be going off of. 50% level also got this last little move, and you got the 618 pretty much around where the high is. So that would be your realistic areas of interest. Yeah, I would have to go with a little bit higher as relevant here. So yeah, basically bullish as long as you're above, what is it, last week's low. Second that you come back down below last week's low, you got some real problems. So and it is still on lower highs here again. Like, I don't like this setup where you're still on lower highs and you're seeing momentum also just get into critical zones. It's usually not a good sign, but like I said, looking at Tether dominance, I think things will have a chance. So, it could just pull back a little bit, set in a higher low, and then try that move, which, we got some time here to chew up anyways. All right, let's see what else we got. We have K. He says super USDT. Yeah, we can look at this one. This one had a pretty fucking epic bounce last week. I think I saw it go up like 30 or 40%. Is that right? Sorry, 66%. Holy shit. What the hell's going on there, Elliot? Anyways, same issue here as the last one as well. You're already in the you're getting close to the critical zone. And you're still on lower highs. Like, that does make it difficult. The weekly is desperately trying to reclaim the 200 simple. I'd like to see it actually close above there first before I say, hey, this thing's likely to move up towards 80-ish cents, probably even $1 from there, to be honest. Looking at the monthly, I really do think that you will see that move. I don't know about this month, but perhaps in April, that would be a good time. I would think somewhere around 80 cents. Yeah, because this one's actually on the monthly starting to reset a bit. We're seeing the monthly stochastic momentum oscillator come down significantly here, basically to the critical bearish control zone. As long as it holds these lows, like, that could be a reset, and next move should be actually a monthly rally. So maybe that gets even extended beyond whatever next month is, May. Yeah, May. But yeah, man. As far as the more short term goes, this one I'm a little bit less sure on. I would treat it as bullish from where it's currently at, as long as it's above this price action pivot here on the 17th of April. So that would be about 50 cents. Nice and easy to remember. Below there, well, I have a hard time saying it's going to make new lows if it were to take that out, but I would be looking for about a 10% move to the downside from there. If it did get taken out, that would be 45 cents. So yeah. All right. Some more water for me, and then we'll get to Sam Freg Nossi. Hopefully I'm saying that right, man. It's been a while, sir. It's been a little bit too long, if you will. Anyways, you want to look at silver, symbol XAG, USD on the hourly and daily, which all rhymes, which means that this is an important thing to be going over. Anyways, I know you didn't ask about the monthly, but we've been looking at this one on very high term timeframes, and we've been bullish on it for the last few months. I still actually would be bullish on this. Yeah, I would still be bullish on this. Just long term, I do want to also check out the bi-monthly. Yeah, same thing here as well. Overall bullish. On the daily, oh god, let's actually start low. So you're on the hourly as well. Okay, hourly. This one is a nice consolidation range. Of course, you do have the price action pivots suggesting this is the next higher low. I think it's probably going to break there and come down closer to the 377 here in the short term, like 32 and a quarter ish. But that would be a good place to try for like a real higher low. If I'm looking at the daily. I do think it is actually more likely to do one of these first. Oh, Jesus, I already have it in there. All right, let's do it a little bit more relevant for the daily here. I do think it's a little bit more likely to do one of these first, where, it comes down a little bit and then tries an upside move, just again, chews up some time here. But that wouldn't necessarily be bearish. It's just short term, comes down, finds a higher low, and then moves to the upside. Because, I do think that this one is ripe to really break out of the top side of this consolidation that it's been in since like October of last year. It's just, again, that's going to take a while. I don't know if that's super relevant to you, but if you want something a little bit more objective and actionable, I would be looking at, it was last Thursday's low. If it takes out last Thursday's low, I'd be looking somewhere down around here, about $31 at least, for the next sort of potential higher low. And then from there, I really would be expecting up. This one does look long-term pretty good to me, to be honest, man. And I say this as someone who doesn't really care for silver, doesn't really care for, well, I do want to get a position in gold, to be honest, for the very, very long term, but certainly not where it's at right now. Anyways, late to the party as always. All right, Turbo Daddy says, good day, Mr. Herps. I am Mr. Herps and also Mr. Derps. CL1. All right, you're looking at Crude. Hey, what? Yes, okay, it's right there. All right. Okay, this dildo needs to be taken out right here. It's fucking up my charts too much. This one I remember we were bearish on just based off a trend. I'd still be overall bearish on it, but I do think that it probably tries a little bit of a rally here if you're on a daily. Let's see what timeframes you are on. Daily and weekly. Okay. As always, you best come visit me in Georgia before buying in Florida. We actually looked at some videos of, what was it? Savannah, Georgia. It looked really nice, honestly. It really did. Yeah, we did when we were looking at other places to potentially visit. Anyways, as far as crude light goes, let's start off higher and then we'll finish lower. But weekly, again, it's probably going to bounce a little bit more to the upside from here. I think, I do think that you'll bounce maybe closer to like $65.50, maybe even all the way up to 68.5, something like that. But the trend is your friend here, and the trend is to the downside, very obviously. So I would look at this one as short term, maybe a little bit of extension of this rally, but you're starting to see major moving averages switch into like a full-on bearish posturing pending this month's closure. Assuming that it closes somewhere here or lower, I suspect that you will see the 21 and 55 cross. So let's see actually what exact price that would require. Let's see. Actually, wait. Yes, show info panel. Okay. Where's my 21 and 55? Yeah, it's 54.5, and this thing's trading at oh no, it'd have to close below 54.5. Wait, that can't be right. It's 63.13 right now. That should, okay. When it updates upon this month's closure, then I imagine that number is going to become very, very close, because this is the number that it would require to force that cross on this closure. As you can see, it's still a little bit further away, but yeah, man. Again, long term, like you are coming off of some pretty major moving averages here. So if you do come back down and test around these lows, it's kind of hard to say that it's just going to continue from there. But, if it does come back down, something like this, sets in a double bottom and then tries to rally to the upside, something like that, man. Yeah, I think that's what I'd say about that. But in the short term, I think you're more likely to rally here first, then come down, then sit in a higher low, and then we have like an actual decision to make, or you have an actual decision to make. I don't trade this shit. Anyways. Hopefully that was helpful, ma'am. And one of the reasons why I do not like trading commodities like crude or oil in general is that it is very much event driven and announcement driven, and you have all sorts of countries playing games, and they know exactly how it affects the markets, and it doesn't play so technically in my experience. So for me, it's like I just don't trust analysis on it that much. Anyways, Darrell from Dubai says Solana versus Bitcoin. All right, let's check out Solana versus Bitcoin. We looked at Solana versus Ethereum earlier, but it ain't too hard to be doing better than Ethereum, to be fair. Solana versus Bitcoin looks very similar actually to Solana versus the dollar, especially in recent times. I do think that this one has a rally higher. I think that you will at least hit somewhere around whatever this number is here. Is that 18,350 Satoshis? Something like this. Wherever the weekly 21 and 200 simple kind of intersecting right there, somewhere around there. Probably on this rally, you're seeing weekly momentum turn up as well. So, I do favor a general rally from here, but same issue as what we've seen on many other things today, like many other things, where you're still on lower highs on relatively lower term timeframes, like the daily, and you are seeing, critical levels of momentum being hit despite still being in more or less a downtrend. So does it pull back and consolidate a little bit more first before trying that upside move? Probably, yeah. But I don't think it's going to make new lows. I don't think it's going to make new lows on a pullback. I do think, depending upon how far it pulls back here in the short term, it might be a little bit, might be a lot, who knows? But generally, I think the high quality move here is going to be somewhere around here. That is a high probability move. Problem is, you got to watch out when you're around the weekly 200 simple, because that would be a pretty nasty place for a rejection. But hey, still, I would say it's probably tradable there. I mean, that's probably a decent percentage move, 20-ish% or so, a little bit less. So yeah. All right, cool. Anyways, Punani Muffin says iron upside downside targets. Okay, upside and downside. It can go up and it can go down. Maybe you mean like an actual stock here. I'm guessing that's what you do mean. No time frames given, so of course the 1 minute time frame target and the monthly targets are going to be the exact same, as you would guess. Overall, if I'm looking at the higher term time frames like the monthly here, I do think that this thing is coming back down over a long enough period of time. Does it rally in the short term? I don't know. I don't know if that's even relevant to you. If it does, I'd be looking maybe somewhere around $7.50. But long term, I think that this one's coming back down sub $3. Yeah, quarterly as well. This looks like it's forming a local high right here. So I'd be favoring downside overall. As far as the longer term trend goes, and like I said, below $3 over a long enough period of time. I mean, this is a fucking quarterly chart. It could take like a year, honestly. So like I said, I don't know what timeframes are relevant to you specifically. But if I had to call it, maybe a short-term rally, but long-term downside. And that, again, seems like the more high-quality play. SS says DEMRF, American Tungsten Corp. Okay. All right. I'm glad that you actually spelled it out, because I wouldn't have guessed that one. Let's see. Trades OTC, so it's good. It's like, let's see. Okay, so retesting one of the prior major breakdown regions here, or close to it, I should say. So, a pretty common place for a pullback. I do want to acknowledge that this thing is very new. It's been around just since December of last year. So this is a very, very, very new chart, especially for traditional markets, even though it does trade OTC. So it's even, less tested, if you will. But, if I had to call it here, I do think in the short term, you're coming back down. You're talking about macro trend. The problem with talking about a macro trend for something that's been around for a few months is there is none. I'll tell you what you already know. Here is what would be your low if you are bullish. That's 44 cents or so. Doesn't really help. I do think that you will pull back in the short/medium term, closer to about 85 cents, somewhere around there, give or take. But if I had to call it honestly, man, I think your macro trend is going to be sideways for a while. I think it's going to be highs at 115, which you just tested, lows around 55 cents, and you're going to spend, probably multiple months hanging out between there. In the short term, I do think that you come down a little bit more, probably try for a short-term bounce and come back down closer to range lows, something like this, and just eat up time. I think that a lot of things in this market are going to be just eating up time. I do understand, based off of its name, it's probably an American thing, meaning that, well, if it's an American thing, then, you know, maybe it gets favored during the Trump regime. But yeah, man, either which way I look at it, short term, a little bit of downside. Wouldn't get excited about this thing as long as it's below yesterday's high. If it can take out yesterday's high, then I'm wrong. It's going to, I'd probably retest prior all-time highs, but I'd be betting more so on sideways in general here. Yeah. Anyways, CMAO says, check out Bitcoin versus SPX. Okay. All right. Let's just do it like this. I know that this chart's been making the rounds recently because Bitcoin is actually doing quite well versus the S&P. And I'd have to agree, it is doing quite well versus the S&P. The trend is your friend, and the trend remains the upside, and the trend seems very much intact with momentum also favoring that same direction. So I'd have to say I would continue to favor Bitcoin over SPY. And the monthly looks really good, like really, really good here. Yeah, the monthly looks like it's ready for new all-time highs over this next month or two. Yeah, really, really good. Quarterly, same thing. Looks if the quarter can even just trade above the last quarterly high, I mean, this thing is gonna fucking it's gonna enter into a parabolic advance, I think. So, okay, maybe not parabolic, but you know what I mean. It's gonna enter into like another one of these phases. You know, big up. So yeah. All right. Let's see. I think I think that's it for the super chats right now. Yeah, as far as this chart goes, man, I'd be bullish as fuck on this thing. Yeah. It looks very much ripe to make new all-time highs to me, man. Krown, one Norway trip. Actually, we really do want to go to Norway. Norway looks fucking beautiful, to me at least, like seeing the fjords and everything. And Norwegian people seem to speak really good English, like Swedish people as well. They're just really fucking good. It'd be awesome, man. When next boxing match? I was really hoping for a Vegas match, which would be at the end of May. And I'm still hoping for that match as well. But I just got a text from the promoter stating that he's not sure if that promotion's going to be happening because there's some sort of issues with the rules regarding wearing headgear. He doesn't want the event to have headgear for amateurs, which is what we are. But that's apparently a law in Las Vegas. So I don't know if he can get around that. And I mean, they haven't even like set up actual matches, and it's almost a month away now. So it's like, I doubt that one's happening. But after that, then there's going to be Japan in September. That's definitely a possibility. I would love to go to Japan. And then after that, there is Miami in December, which would also be awesome as well, man. Stack says, hey, Krown, hope you're well. I hope you're well as well, sir. Render versus the dollar, daily, weekly. Okay, RNDR, yes. Render on derp base. Let's see. Let's go to a higher term time frame first, like the weekly as you requested. Weekly's coming off the 21 EMA, but well, I do think, you pull back a little bit from there, probably reconnect with the 5 EMA at $4. This one does look to me like it wants to try higher overall. I think that this one will go, somewhere around $5.50 in like the coming month or two. We are seeing weekly stochastic momentum come up hard here. It's nice and erect as long as it's above $3, which it's well above right now. And no, you would not have hidden bullish evidence. That is a lower low, not a higher low. It's also a downtrend. So yeah, monthly, same thing as what we've seen on many of these things. This one is actually a little bit relatively strong compared to the charts that we've seen today. It's just in a stronger position right now. So I would say that, yeah, probably moves up to at least 5.5, maybe even all the way up to like 6.5 over the next couple months. But yeah, it's going to be really hard to undo this long-term downtrend. Like, again, here's the real chart, and even if it rallied all the way up to like fucking $7, like it's still a downtrend. You're not going to flip around that trend as long as you're below $9. So like I said, it can look something like this, where it comes up, really high here, and then eventually comes back down. And then I guess if it were like super long-term bullish, you'd see a higher low, something like around here, and then try another major upside move. But that's really, really far away. So I wouldn't focus like too much on that because, a lot can change over time. But the next move, I do think in general is to the upside. And then if it's relevant to you on the very short-term timeframes, maybe see a bit of a short-term pullback here, like I said, to reconnect around $4 with that 5 EMA on the weekly. But, it's like not going to destroy your trend or anything here. So it's not in my opinion, that relevant. Maybe it is for you. Maybe it is. I don't know. Any new Big Mike conspiracy news? Actually, I haven't heard any new informations about Big Mike. I think it's over. Look, I don't know if the Big Mike stuff is true or not, but it is fucking funny. I'll tell you that. It's really fucking funny, okay? Like, the reason why it's funny is because I just imagine a scenario where, of course, like the Obamas have, like, basically servants, that follow them around. Aides is what we call them, aides. And at some point, I'm sure of it, like, one of her aides had to have broken the news to her about this conspiracy and been like, excuse me, Miss Obama, I think that you should maybe know about this conspiracy that's been going around about you, stating that you are actually a man called Big Mike. I know it's probably fake, but I just thought that you should know. And then Big Mike is like, oh, that's definitely not me. So, I imagine the conversation went like that. She's got the nuts hanging out. It's true.
No, just leave them hanging.
She leaves the nuts hanging out of Obama?
No, like you should just leave them.
She went balls deep in your asshole? What's going on here?
What is wrong with you?
I'm going to give you the Burt stare. You fucking derp. Anyways, SS says MEI Meteoric resource. This sounds like a real stock. Hold on, let's see what it is. It is. Wait, no. Yes, it is. Oh, it's on Australia, so it's not really that real, I guess. Anyways, you're looking at macro. Okay, so macro to me in stock market means like monthly. I'm on the weekly right now. Here's the monthly. Monthly's coming off the white 200 simple. You're seeing monthly stochastic momentum point up for the first time in, Jesus, like multiple years since 2022. I think that you're in a general rally mode here. I think that is generally going to move its way higher. I think it's generally going to go, at least somewhere between 15 to 20 cents and then come back to it after that. Long term, weird as fuck chart, but Australian stuff just trades weird, I guess. I don't know what the hell it's doing. But I do think that, at least in the short / medium term, based off of the monthly, yeah, you do see a rally up here. Maybe this takes like 3 to 5 months. Long term, like I said, who knows what the fuck this thing's doing, but just like Bitcoin just like traditional markets off of the 200 simple on the weekly. It's just I don't like betting against that on a very high term time frame. It's a really good place to at least get like a very big bounce. It is obviously getting a pretty big bounce here already, but I think that it can get an even bigger bounce, an even more impressive bounce. Anyways, Krown to be the next pope. There he is, Mr. Peter Underwood. Good morning to you as well, sir. Our lovely moderator. Flutie boy. The fuck did I just hear? Bitcoin versus gold, monthly and weekly. Let's check it out. Actually, I am curious about this. Which one's going to be winning? Yeah, gold's going to be winning. Actually, while Bitcoin versus traditional markets looks very, very good, Bitcoin versus gold does not. Does not. I think that this one's topped for a while. I think that this... there's going to be bounces along the way, but I think that it will come back down somewhere around here, the low that you saw from July of last year. Should have a big bounce there, and maybe that's going to be the low. That'll also be a reconnect with about the 5 EMA on the yearly here, so should get a bounce there. But yeah, I do think that it generally comes lower here. Again, you're seeing that same sort of signal that we see on Bitcoin versus the dollar, which is bearish divergence plus momentum to point it down. I don't like betting against that signal as long as it is continuing to the downside, which it is as of right now. So I do think that longer term, this can be viewed as perhaps just a correction, but longer term on the macro, it's like, something like this could take a year, a year to play out perhaps. So long term, I'd probably still favor Bitcoin over gold, but and fundamentally that makes sense as well. I mean, just Bitcoin's significantly less market cap, so it's a lot easier to gain versus gold. But that would imply, a decent move to the downside here. So there is that. Yeah, and also around the white 200 simple on the weekly here too. So I don't know if it makes that move like exactly from where it's at right now, but if we're looking again on the greater scale of things, if we zoom out like 6 months to a year, I could easily see something like this happening. Is there a rally in between there? Sure, sure. But yeah. All right, we're all derps. Yes, indeed, we're all derps. Me being the biggest one. Anyways, XRen says, "Hello, sir. Can you take a look at Coin Daily Weekly?" Yeah. So I think I saw news yesterday that Coinbase applied for a banking license. Let's actually verify this. Did Coinbase apply for a U.S. banking license? Because this actually would be kind of significant, I would think, fundamentally speaking. But I think that this happened after hours. Yes, Coinbase has explored applying for a U.S. banking license. Okay. More recently, posts on X from April 21st, so that's yesterday, suggests that Coinbase, alongside other crypto firms like Circle, BitGo, and Paxos, is actively pursuing a U.S. banking license. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I wonder when that could be decided on, though. At any rate, let's go over here to Coinbase. It's very similar to many of the charts that we've seen today. It's coming off of a major moving average here on the weekly. You're seeing momentum turn up simultaneously. So I'd say the same thing as all the other ones. I don't think it's going to be going lower than April's low without, trying a decent bounce first. I think that this thing could easily bounce back above $200. Let's call it like 210 to 220. With potential for more as well. I mean, shit, if it head up to like 250 or 260, that wouldn't surprise me either. But yeah, the more important thing and probably the more actionable thing is that, yeah, in the short term, you're in a bounce phase. I do have my issues with this one long term now, ever since February, but we'll see how much the monthly stochastic oscillator can reset while it hopefully holds the current low. Because if it can go for a full reset, then perhaps it does have a chance. But at least for now, should bounce over the next couple months. I think that it could go, decently higher from where it's at right now, but just don't get too excited about something when it looks like this. That's what I'll say about that. All right. Let's see. Mr. SS is next. Says Wall Street is a solid movie with Charlie Sheen. Where have I heard this? Where have I heard this before? Fair enough, man. I don't know. I've actually never. I don't think I've seen that one. I've seen most of the trading movies, like Trading Places. That's a classic. Obviously, Wolf of Wall Street, Big Short. Watched a lot of documentaries too about like the fucking massive scammers, like and the Enron scammer. That guy is a trip because holy shit, when you listen to him talk, like he does not give a fuck that he basically just stole and completely screwed over many people's lives, many people who were working for him as well. Like, it's crazy, dude. It's fucking crazy. Coinbase sucks. As an exchange, it's probably not great, but as a company, they're one of the better positioned ones, I would think. But yeah. Anyways, let's see. Becoming Bridget was a good watch. What is this? Sounds like something that Elsa would be in, not me. Dude, not me. All right, let's see. What else we got over here? Let me check on Twitter. I haven't done that in a moment. In fact, I should probably put it on the, oh Jesus, I could have just done it over here. My apologies, Twitter. I didn't mean to forget. Jeremy on Twitter says 1 million for MO Altria on New York Stock Exchange. Please. I would do the Asian voice, but I can't. My voice hurts a little bit too much. Altria. What do I know Altria from? What do I know Altria from? My brain is deceiving me today. Anyways, whoa. Okay, weird one on the. I do favor this one to go higher. Based off the quarterly. I don't know if that's relevant to you. I think you are more, 1 month plus. I'm looking at the quarterly right here, looking at the yearly as well. I do think that it does go a little bit higher first, maybe closer to like 63, 64, 65 area. But I also do think that, you're going to play out I think that you're getting ready to play out like a prolonged sideways range, basically between that number and the lows of February, March. It probably doesn't come all the way back down to these lows. You can see that the white 200 simple here on the monthly is governing these lows. So that is rising up, in the future should be somewhere closer to $50. But yeah, in the short term, I have trouble with this, with looking at this one as likely to continue like exactly from where it's at right here because of this signal. Like, it can be done, or you see it more often in stocks where it actually will continue to the upside, but in crypto, it's usually a death signal. But when I go to the lower time frames, it does look a lot more to me like it wants to try that upside move first rather than the downside move. So I would put it like this. Look, as long as it's above the price action pivot here, which is April lows at $53 or so, I'd favor that upside and potentially all the way up to like $65, $66. I don't think that you're going to be breaking out from there without like a pullback into a consolidation. But yeah, higher term timeframes are generally good here. Wait, this is Marlboro, right? It's the cigarette company, isn't it? Could you do Sony on the monthly for Blake Austin? Sure. Sony, okay, Sony. New York Stock Exchange, actually eerily similar chart to the last one in kind of the more recent times, I suppose. Also, I do want to just also acknowledge that this thing has like a pretty fucking good chart long term and is showing relative strength in the more immediate term. Now, here's the thing. You are retesting around a pretty important high from the October 2021 highs, or sorry, just basically the 2021 highs, when all markets were kind of making major new highs. So, you are likely to pull back from a region like that. We've already seen, however, a pretty significant pullback. So could I argue that pullback's already played out? It's 20% move to the downside right there. Already reclaiming more than half of that, it looks like. So I actually could say that, I suppose. Let me look at it from this angle here. I haven't looked at it from the RSI angle. So let's see from here. Maybe there's some more obvious signal going on here. Let's go to a weekly. Let's go to a monthly. Let's see what we got. Weekly hidden bullish divergence, but it's already played out a good portion of that. If it does play out anymore, it's going to test the weekly highs, or basically around like $25. It's a hard one. Long term, it's bullish. That much is obvious, but does it come down and play out a correction below $20 again first before trying like a real upside move to new highs, or does it just go from here? I really don't know. I really don't have a good read on this one. Long term, I like it though. That's what I feel. That's what I think is very obvious here. Yearly, I wouldn't be surprised to see this one make a retest of prior all-time highs from 2000 or 1999, 2000 region over the next year or two. It does look pretty strong here, but in between there, does it play out a correction back down? Somewhere closer to $18? Maybe. That's what I really do not feel confident on for this thing. All right, let's see what else we got. We have King Socks, or sorry, actually, there is one before. There is first XRen. He's looking at Tesla. Sure, man. Daily, weekly. I was actually looking at this last night, but I forget what it looked like, to be honest with you. Yeah, Tesla coming off the monthly 55 here. I actually do think that this one is a little bit more likely to trade to the downside first before having a big bounce attempt. I think that it's more likely to come back down to like 180 or so. Whoops, just dropping my fucking rings over here. Anyways, let's go to yeah. This really does look ugly on a yearly, to be honest, man. Yeah, I do think that it's going to head down there. I do. Is there anything more obvious though? Yeah, this one is actually acting relatively weak. For all the people who think that Elon is getting into government to influence, the government and help his stock prices, I mean, that's just it's not working out very well. Put it that way. This thing's actually relatively weak compared to most stock, every stock that we've seen today. Actually, this thing's already back down around the April lows. It might even made a lower low yesterday. No, it did not. But I think it will. I think it will. And next area of interest is going to be 180. So yeah, that's really all that to say about this thing, man. From on the daily, I mean, I'm bearish as long as it's below the price action pivot here at 275. That's quite far away from current price action. So I'd favor the trend in this case. The trend is your friend, and the trend doesn't seem to have ended just yet. But the good news, I guess, is that if you do come lower, you're very likely going to have some potential for some regular bullish divergence of 3-drive varieties. So that would be good for a potential reversal. But yeah, this thing's really switching into a macro bearish posturing here. I mean, I really don't like the yearly. Yeah, I really don't like the yearly. What about the 6-month? Yeah, again, could come down to like 180 and I guess in a hopium scenario, it bounces there big. But not a big fan of this chart, man. Really not. Yeah, somewhere between 160 to 180 is where I'd be expecting the next major low. Anyways, Al Mypix says, you could do copy trading on an exchange and we copy you? Man, maybe not. Look, man, like I've gotten this request a lot in the past before, and okay, just understand my perspective. Like, copy trading doesn't really make that much sense if you actually have your own money to trade with, because like even as the person, because you can only have a limited amount of people that actually join you on your trades, and so that means that you need to even lower your size to take those trades, and then there's going to be issues with that because a lot of them require you to only do market entry and market exit. At least that's what I've seen, and it's like, I don't want to do the work for everyone else, and I don't get paid for all, for all of it. It's just, it seems like a bad deal to me. And then of course, you have to ask yourself, at what point do strategies not scale anymore? Well, on lower term timeframes, that could be kind of tight. I would imagine like somewhere up to about 5 million in contract position. If you're on higher term timeframes, less of a concern, but yeah, man, I don't really feel the need to do that, to be honest with you, man. I do a lot of stuff that gives you a pretty fucking good idea of what I'm doing. You can get the quant prime, you can get even the quantum wave bands, you can get, basically any of the indicators that we offer now for free for 30 days. And we just give out, strategies with that you can use and you can build off of. Of course, I don't give out my exact to the fucking pixel strategy, but you can figure out a pretty good template by basing it off of stuff that I do and also stuff that other members do as well. So yeah, man, it's just not that attractive of an idea to me. It's like the same thing when people ask me if I'm gonna ever create like a fucking like fund, like a mutual fund or some shit. It's like, I have no interest in doing that. One, because trading other people's money is like a big, like that's a big fucking weight on your shoulders, man. It's, I'm fine with losing my own money. I'm not fine, or I don't know if I'd be able to sleep at night if I lost other people's money, especially knowing the way that other people, view trading and whatnot. And then again, you're doing all this work and you'd probably be making more money anyways if you're just trading your own account and just sizing up on that, because you're not going to get all of the funds that you are essentially generating for that group anyway. So it's just like you have added pressure and potentially less reward. Nah, don't think so, man. But yeah. Anyways, King Sock says, good morning. Please check BitTensor Tau. Thank you. Sure. Symbol TIO. Someone got very mad at me the other day for saying, I don't know what TIO is or what it does. And I still don't. And I don't fucking care. It still looks like absolute garbage. Crazy. Fucking crazy. Bro, you should learn the fundamentals, man. Okay? If you learn the fundamentals, you know that is bullish. Okay? It's only gone down 77.5%. Okay? It's actually really, really good.
Nuclear launch.
For that, we dropped the fucking. Look, it's going to have a big bounce here. It already is having a big bounce. Most things are going to have big bounces and probably got more to go. If this thing does take another leg up, I'd be looking somewhere around $400. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, man. No time frames given. So I really don't know where you want me to go with on this one. But yeah, looks to me like it wants to try higher overall. I think it'll at least get to like 350. I think in a really good move, like market wide, you probably see somewhere around like 420, 430-ish region. Good numbers there. But do I think that this thing's reversing into a macro uptrend again? No, I don't. Or at least certainly not my first idea with this. And this is kind of the same bounce that I've been talking about on a lot of different cryptos or just a lot of different assets. And it's a pity bounce. You're retesting your prior all-time low over here from August 2024. Almost everything is going to bounce big off of lows like that. But a bounce is just not the same thing as a reversal. So yeah, it could go up decent amount from here, but especially as long as it's below $500, I would not treat it like a reversal. I'd treat it like a bounce, a big bounce, an impressive bounce, a very powerful bounce, but a bounce is just that, a bounce. Anyways, I realized that I'm nearly out of time here myself. I got another massage at 11:11, so that's another 30 minutes, but can probably do a few more. Let's see what Crypto Forever 2019 says. He says, sub Squid, symbol SQD. A lot of stocks today. That's probably a sign of the times as well. Or no, this is a crypto. Okay, I stand corrected. I assumed it was going to be a stock. Actually, really good. Actually, really, really good. Definitely a contender for Best Crypto Chart of the Day award. That's for sure. This thing is putting in a weekly uptrend, whereas most things are not. They're in weekly downtrends. If it wants to have a short-term correction to like 18.5 cents, or sorry, yes, 18.5 cents, that's fine. I think that this thing continues on with the rally overall, and you probably see north of 20, like 22. Yeah, really, really good. Really, really good. Especially compared to the steaming heaps of shits that we've seen across the markets in most cases. So yeah, I'd be favoring upside here, man. The trend is your friend, and the trend is very much erect. I like it. Let's see. You're a wizard. You're a wizard. No, you're a wizard. PLN. What is PLN? What is PLN? What country is that? Anyways, Rune on the 12-hour. Oh, nice. Okay. All right. Please. Thanks, Big Mike. Thanks, Big Mike. There you go. Have a fucking stare as well. That's probably what Michelle Obama did. Is when someone told her that that story, she was like, "Hey, fuck you." All right. Let's look at Rune.
It's Polish.
It's Polish. Oh, nice. Okay. Polish people are cool. There's a lot of Polish people in Chicago, actually, when I was living there. Big Polish community there. Good people. Anyways, Rune, you have that same setup that we literally just spoke about, or a couple charts ago, I think it was. This one's retesting multi-year long lows, so you're very likely going to get a pity bounce here. I think you could at least reconnect with the 5 EMA. Who knows how long this takes to play. Oh, you're on a 12-hour time frame. You don't give a fuck about this. All right, my apologies. 12-hour, I think that this one's primed to try higher here. Probably closer to this last local high from late March, somewhere around, let's say on the lower end, about 1.25, and on the upper end, maybe closer to 130, 135, something like that. And generally, I do think that this thing will bounce higher over time as well. No, it's okay. It's okay. Regular Goof says, could you look at Sui? We can look at Sui, yes. Let's see. Sui right here, 227, having a really big bounce off of the exact area that we're looking for. I think that this one will continue to bounce more here. I think that at least you'll hit this price action pivot at about 240, 241 region. Yeah, I don't know what time frames are on because you did not specify as usual, but that's okay. I'll just make it up. Yeah, I do think that you get there kind of in the short/medium term, potential for more as well. I think that this thing could also be a good candidate for big bounce. Yeah, I think over the next month, maybe this thing could bounce back to like $3, maybe even a little bit above $3, but like most things in this market, I do think that this is your cycle top, if not, forever top. But yeah, it could move up a decent amount here. I think in like the best case scenario over the next couple months, 2 to 3 months, maybe you see around like $3.50. But that would be like dream scenario. Until then, 275, big area of interest, or basically let's make that $3, and then above there you got $3.50. And then above there, you got, what exactly was the number again? 3.5, basically every 50-cent increment up there. All right. Good morning from Florence, South Carolina. South Carolina actually looks pretty cool. I hear that you guys got gators as well. MOG, we can look at MOG. Why not look at MOG? MOG coin. Wow, yeah, really fucking bullish, man. Really fucking bullish. Look, man, most things are going to bounce here in the short term. I don't think that this thing's going to ever reclaim that prior all-time high. But, it could bounce up a lot, like bounce all the way up to like this area here over the next month or two. This circle is what I'm referring to. Shorter term, this one right here. But, that's a humongous percentage move. So maybe it's relevant to you, maybe it's not. Out of time, 247 says DGNX. Okay. Is it a crypto? Oh, it is not. Okay, yeah. So it is a real stock. All right. So it's this thing right here, I'm guessing. DGNX. This looks like a major top to me. It doesn't have much history here, so I'm not going off of much. But I'm going to guess you have, I'm just drawing fucking dots. Yeah, you do have a couple drives of bearish divergence there on the daily. Again, there's not a lot of history here to really be going off of, so I don't trust it that much, but this does look also like a weekly top to me as well. So, in the short term, you probably bounce off of a moving average like this, but I do think more longer term, you're going to be headed down, below somewhere around like 70, or sorry, somewhere between like 60 to $70, something like that. With bounces along the way again, but the main, my main point here is that I don't think that this thing's reclaiming that April high anytime soon. Other than that, it's a little bit too new to really look at it in a more, I guess, detailed way. Let's see. Mr. Van Duysen is looking at Plume USD on the daily. Looks better than most. All right. If it looks better than most, I'm gonna trust you here. But if you break my trust, then I will never trust you ever again. It does look better than most. All right. It does look better than most. Nice. This one obviously holding a range between your price action pivot to the downside of 15 cents and to the upside of 18.5 cents. I think that you probably hit the top side of that first, closer to 18.5, maybe even 20 cents. Overall, it's had an uptrend for its very short life since January, but hey, that's better than most things. So I respect that. And yeah, I treat this one as bullish, basically, as long as you're above the price action pivot to the downside, which is 15 cents. So I'd just be generally looking for up and to the right as long as you're above there. It does hold the uptrend. Like I said, it's a new thing, so these ones are highly prone to doing weird altcoin shit. But if I have to call, I have no problem being bullish from there. This one does genuinely look different than almost everything else that we've seen today, except for like a couple here and there. So it's in the top 1%. It's in the top 1%, I'd say. DWB for Schmeedy. For Schmeedy, sure, man. DWB. Is this a stock or a crypto? It is a crypto. It's Dick with butt on Pulse Chain. Great. Well, the good news is you're in a bounce phase. The bad news is that this thing will unlikely ever know what a real uptrend looks like on any sort of meaningful time frame. But yeah, I think that you bounce at least up to here. Probably even go for more than that. I wouldn't be surprised to see it somewhere around here over the next month or so, somewhere in this circle. Long term, it's looking great, man. It's looking really, really good. Really, really, really fucking good, man. It's looking like the picture of health and fitness, just the one chart that you love to see, the one chart that you'd love to be looking in. I am, Dad, son, I was going to do your request, but it's all capitals, so we don't do that. It's fucking annoying, man. Like, it's fucking annoying. It's insufferable is what it is. Anyways, we'll move on. We have, let's see, AIOZ for the original. Let's check it out. AIOZ. Yeah, another terrible one, honestly. Very, very terrible. But even the terrible ones, I think, are going to rally in this next move. And this thing, oh, my bad. I mean, this was also relevant to this chart as well. But yes, I did not intend for that gift to continue to dump in your face. I apologize. Look, I think this one definitely, I shouldn't say definitely, very likely goes higher. I do think that it probably finds its way at least somewhere around here. Long term, though, don't like. Short term, yeah, it's going to bounce. Probably going to bounce a lot. But I wouldn't be getting too excited or anything like this. Why is this thing pooping on my screen, says Juice? It is what it is, man. Bitcoin dominance chart for Connolly. Sure. I don't know how much I trust TA on this chart. I've certainly been wrong multiple times on this chart. If I had to call it here, I'm going to tell you what you probably already know. It's an uptrend. And the trend has been your friend since November 2022. I guess it ain't changed around anytime soon, man. I think that, like, if I'm just looking at, okay, if this was like a technical chart, I would say that it probably works its way up above 70%, somewhere between 70 to 74. Then plays out a decent pullback, something like that, man. But I don't have any like real strong opinions on this one. My strong opinion is that if you're interested in shitcoins, you should look at your shitcoin versus the Bitcoin parent, and that's going to be a lot more of a direct comparison giving you the value of that shitcoin. Like, does it, is this thing in an uptrend or not? Is this thing actually doing better than Bitcoin or not? Because that's what you're really looking for when you're looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart. You're wondering, are altcoins good is my altcoin good right now or not? Problem is that this chart can move up, and many altcoins also move up big time, but the majority of them move down, or just not as much as Bitcoin, thus bringing this up, meaning that their value goes down. So yeah, it's always better to look at shitcoin versus Bitcoin value if you're, if that's what you're really interested in, as far as are we in altcoin season? I really stand by what I said earlier this year. I believe that we saw an altcoin season this cycle. Just people haven't realized that it's just a couple of sectors. Like, that's how it's always been, by the way. It's never been just a general market-wide rally to new all-time highs in a parabolic fashion. It's always been a few sectors rallying to the moon and beyond, and everything else just having big bounces for the most part. All right, Pisa says, can you take a look into XRP? Sure, ma'am. XRP 209 is playing well off of the 5 EMA on the quarterly here, but it's always difficult to trust XRP. Like, it's always difficult to trust XRP. No time frames given, so I'm going to go with a daily here because that's probably one of the more easy ones. And we have a very obvious price action pivot here at just basically $2. I have the same thing to say about this as I do of most cryptos and most stocks. I don't think you're going to be going lower than the April lows without having a decent bounce to the upside first. And decent bounce for something like XRP, could easily be like $2.50, which is a pretty big move from where it's at right now. It doesn't really do anything for trend, but is that a tradable move? I would imagine for most people, yes. But yeah, does it come back down to $2 first or 195 first and then play out that upside move, or does it just move up from here? I'm actually a little bit more inclined to say it moves up from here, but yeah, I don't have super strong opinions on that exact point. My strong opinion is on higher instead of taking out the April lows. And if it does take out the April lows, that would come after a rally to the upside. So yeah. Sushi Yum Yum says, "Wow, you're super caught up on requests." Yes, indeed, sir. Yes, indeed. We're on a good roll today, sir. Send eat. You think VOO says April 7th lows? Let's check it out. I would have to say generally no. Okay, hold on. Do I think it sees these lows here first before rallying, or just at some later point? I do think at some later point it probably does happen, honestly. But I think that this, it's been beat up a lot, as have most major indices, and most major indices are in a bounce time on higher term timeframes, like monthly, quarterly bounces are kind of materializing and playing out. So I'd really give a chance for that to happen first. I mean, this thing, for example, could rally all the way up to fucking 500, 520, right to the 200 simple, which is your traditional lower high area or rejection region for like a major long-term downtrend, and then come down and make new lows. That's very, very possible. But I do think, again, in the short term, are we going to take out these lows or retest these lows? They might get close there, but I don't think it's going to make new lows. I do think that you are going to bounce out higher before doing anything like that. And who knows? I mean, maybe it does just fucking green dildo its way back to heaven and beyond and never comes back down to this low ever again. Possible, yes, but personally, I still have to be very defensive for most things. In fact, pretty much everything. Sushi Yum Yum says, since I'm here, how about FNMA? Franny May? Yeah, we can do a couple more, then we'll call it a day. Fannie Mae. Actually, in the short term, not so bad. Remember, we looked at this one a while ago. Also on the monthly, it's starting to switch around here too. It's taken out all of these last lower highs, so that's a good sign. Yeah. trying to look for some obvious. I do think you are about to enter into a prolonged sideways consolidation here, but it should be a good consolidation, meaning that bullish resolution is implied, especially as long as it's above 369. But that does mean that you could come down close to there. Then again, I look at the quarterly and perhaps that's not so likely. I think that this one moves generally to the upside. You know, maybe you see somewhere around like 17, 18 bucks in the next few years. This is a quarterly, so, you know, it's going to take a long time, but yeah, I would estimate like a couple years out, something like that. In the meantime, does it spend more time consolidating? Probably, but yeah, long term does look primed for a decent rally. Let's see what else we got. All right. James L says PSN Parsons stock. A lot of stocks today. I'm actually really liking this. PSN Parsons Corporation on NYSE. Coming off the weekly 200 simple. Do you come back down around there and test there again before bouncing higher? Or does it just move higher from here? This one actually does kind of look to me like it wants to come back down first. Yeah, the daily's already kind of losing its luster here. But again, I don't think you're going to be like closing on new lows below the April lows, but it could look something like this. You know, it gets close to there and then you get a decent bounce. That's what I feel a lot more confident in saying. Like long term, actually pretty good. You know, you have many years of just general uptrend. Of course, it got destroyed with the rest of the market as of recent, but you know, I'd be looking for something like this. You know, maybe it comes back down towards these lows. Like I said, I do think in the short term it does go a little bit lower than where it's at right now, but then I'd be looking for a bounce, and you know, I think you get somewhere around here, like 75 to 85 region, something like that, man. Yeah. All right, we'll do one last one, and then we gotta wrap it up. Let's see. Elsa's sign in the background. What is it? What is going on over there? Anyways, okay, fair enough. All right, cool. Anyways, let's see. I'll pick out hopefully something that looks different. Today. I want to learn how to make money when stock markets go down. Is learning option trading a retardio idea? If you have a lot of equity, then I think options trading is the final destination. But if you don't, then, you know, just regular shorting is going to be your best answer for such things. So yeah, man. All right. Yes. All right. We shall do it. We shall do the last one. A brand new me. Magic USDT. Sure, man. Please talk about it. All right. Just no timeframes given, no nothing given. Just talk about it. All right. That's not a very tall order. Wow. Absolute fucking dog shit, man. Actually, it's not dog shit. It is rhino shit. It's garbage. Absolute fucking garbage. But just like most garbage charts, even they get their bounces too. Although the bounces are really just an opportunity to get rid of these things, but for anyone with a fucking brain. But do I think that this thing probably bounces higher over the next month or two? Yeah. I think that it could easily bounce up to like 40 cents, 45 cents, somewhere around there. Long term, though, this thing's never known what an uptrend is. It's been around during some of the most bullish of bullish environments. Never made new all-time highs since its inception. That's a very, very bad sign, in my opinion. So while I do think it rallies here, maybe even rallies a decent amount percentage-wise, I do think it is long term going in the same direction it has been going in, and maybe I'm even being a little bit too aggressive with 40 cents, but I would say at least like 33 to 35, and then potential for like 40 to 45. But yeah, it's just a game of finding the next lower high. There's no such thing as reversal for shit like this. All right, sirs and zers, it's been a nice day. It's been a nice day indeed. I will be signing off on that note. We'll be back on, of course, tomorrow. We'll do tomorrow live on Twitter, as we have been doing. No, tomorrow I have sparring, so probably not. I need my full energy for that. But Thursday for sure. Anyways, thanks for joining in.